and welcome to session 6 of our Mummy the Curse Chronicle, Oceans of Eternity. Now, for those of you that are just joining us or need a little refresher, let's cover what happened the last time that we had gathered. And on the last session of Oceans of Eternity, our mummies, Seshet, Damos, and Nesret, had gathered outside their tomb with their newfound companions. We have Father Vitatzes, Minervina, Vitalius, and aptly dubbed Mao, the cat. The Meret had reason to believe that there may be danger ahead, so they had ordered their companions to wait outside while they made sure that their tomb was safe. Sachet preemptively unleashed the third tier of Blessed is the God King, turning into a lioness-headed avatar of her judge, wielding a mystic khopesh. Tamos had used his affinity, the opener of the way, to unlock the ancient mechanism holding the door, but the cursed clay seal prevented the door from fully opening. Nesret had realized that this seal was cursed and notified the rest of the Meret, but once again, fearless, a divinely empowered Seshet took no heed and smashed the seal regardless. The broken clay transformed into a scarab which quickly burrowed into Seshet's flesh, but she managed to carve the creature out of her arm with her mystic blade and crush it beneath her foot. And with the door to their tomb now open, the Meret entered for the first time in nearly a decade. The tomb itself was in total disarray. Skeletal remains littered the floor, still wrapped in tattered ceremonial robes, which revealed that the dead had belonged to their cults. Signs indicated some sort of conflict, old splatter stains of blood and gore, clothes torn and cut, splintered bones. The Meret could also sense a foul energy permeating the tomb, which Nesret identified as unhallowed ground. The doors to their personal burial chambers had also been breached, and most concerning of all, an empty pedestal in the center of the tomb, where the harmonic centerpiece should be. However, before our Meret could finish their investigation, they had spotted more scarabs watching them from the dark recesses of the tomb, and as they continued to poke and prod and investigate, the scarabs grew in number, eventually pouring out of every nook and cranny, forming into an undulating mass of insects that demanded that they all must suffer. Seshet drew her khopesh at the creature, which then transformed into a horrific centaur-like beast, though with the head of a scarab, the upper torso of a mummified human, and the lower body of a scorpion, complete with pincers and a tail dripping with poison. Our Meret valiantly battled the creature with sword and sorcery, and when the tide of battle seemed to turn against the creature's favor, it discorporated into a swarm of scarabs that scattered throughout the tomb. Seshet realized that the creature was a fiend, a demon that had escaped from the depths of the Duat. If it had not been dealt a fatal blow, it would likely return from Neterkartet when it had recovered. In order to drive it back into the Duat, they would need to find the idol, binding it to the sunlit realms of the living, and destroy it. And then, finally, kill the creature and send it screaming back to the hellish pits in which it belongs. But with the threat dealt with for now, our Moret continued their investigation. Buried under corpses near the empty pedestal, they found an unfamiliar mosaic depicting the fiend, as well as another of someone offering their heart to Amut. More concerning was the fact that the mosaic seemed to share the same creator as the other pieces that were original to their shared tomb. Within their personal chambers, they also discovered more upsetting news. Seshet had a text missing from her personal collection, while Tomos and Nesret found unexpected items in their tombs. Whips and chains for Tomos, and a strange Bible for Nesret. The worst revelation, however, was that someone had smashed their canopic jars. But there was some light, perhaps, at the end of this tunnel. Picking through the pieces of their canopic jars, it became obvious that for each of our mummies, one of the jars was not accounted for. One was missing. Perhaps not destroyed. However, the Moret, their pillars drained from their trials and tribulations thus far, needed to gather their strength for the trials that still lay ahead. Hoping to fix the damage to the life web of their tomb, Nesret and Seshet had worked together to install the Jed relic that they had taken from their prison tomb and install it as the harmonic centerpiece of their tomb. The ritual was a success. Geomantic power flowed through the tomb once again, but something was different this time. The Jed cracked into a spider-like pattern, and the power unleashed was twisted somehow as the relic worked its magic upon the tomb. The Moret heard ghostly voices at the edge of their perception, wailing and moaning in pain. But they were interrupted by the arrival of Minervina, fearless as always, who came bearing a missive for Seshet. The missive, written in Iremite, appeared to be an invitation to meet with an individual only identified as the White Jackal of the Kent Hanu. Who is this mysterious author, and what does he want? What is wrong with this Jed relic, and what were those phantom voices? Where are your missing canopic jars? So many questions, and yet so little time. Our Arisen have already lost 2 points of Saken, and their deific powers will not last forever. With that in mind, we return to our mummies in their tomb as they consider carefully their next moves. Seshet of the Sesha Hebsu, Tamos of the Makep, and Nesret of the Tethabi. What do you intend to do now?
Yeah, I want to read this summons a bit more carefully here. Is there like any other information on it other than just like, hey, let's meet up?
So, yes,
Like,
examining
what's this about?
the missive. It appears to have been inked upon a traditional papyrus scroll, a bit of a throwback, perhaps. A nice touch, shall we say. And in this neat Iramite script, it reads, I write to the one known as Seshet. I am the White Jackal, faithful servant of the judges, leader of the Kent Hanu. There is much I wish to discuss with a fellow Arisen such as yourself. Seek me out in the palace of Antiochus. I will be waiting.
Okay. Do I know that palace?
Um,
Because Grog sure doesn't.
yeah. Why don't... Uh,
Sounds like a place
probably...
of political importance, maybe a politics
Yeah,
role.
let's do politics. That probably sounds the most...
Politics intelligence.
Yeah, let's go with that.
4 successes. I think I know it pretty well.
Yeah, you're fairly familiar with this place, um, given how well you rolled there. So this palace, the palace of Antiochos, it is a palace, obviously, though one which was constructed as a residence for the aptly named Antiochus, a eunuch of Persian origin, one who enjoyed, shall we say, considerable influence over a previous emperor, Theodosius II. Um, However, considering the, shall we say, the length of time that has transpired, Antiochus is long since dead, though the palace still maintains his namesake. Though now, perhaps distressingly or intriguingly, depending on how Seshet interprets this, you are aware that this palace, the Palace of Antiochus, is now under the possession of the Imperial dynasty. It is a possession of the Emperor.
That sounds like that's going to be difficult to get into. Yeah. Well, I found it. It's right next to the Hippodrome, isn't it?
Indeed, yes, adjacent to the Hippodrome.
Yeah. Though before I go around doing any adventuring, there is a matter of pillar points. I've been spending them like water, and I'm kind of really low on that right now. And I feel like my companions are in a similar possession. With the relic now in our life web, I believe we're entitled to some free pillar points, if I'm not mistaken.
Indeed, as you are no longer disinterred, your tomb, for the most part, reclaimed, or at least restored to some minimal function, though some fiendish influence, as pernicious as it is, still lingers. But more or less, yes, the tomb is functional again, and with a harmonic centerpiece, a relic installed within its life web, comes with some additional bonuses. Most notably, the fact that it now generates a small sum of pillar points for the lot of you to draw upon, once per chapter, equal to your rating in geometry, which I think is 3 for you guys.
It is.
So you have a free pool, shall we say, for this chapter, 3 points for you to draw from. Though, on top of that, as Seshet has done before, there's always the option to meditate to restore your pillar points. And you will find the meditation more fruitful, shall we say, within the harmonizing energies of your tomb, and you will add your geometry rating to your meditation rolls. Though, on account of you having the harmonic centerpiece as well, that also gives you an additional +1. So that'd be a grand total of 4 additional dice to your meditation rolls.
I suggest we split those pillar points evenly and take 1 each, which I'm taking 1 right now.
Sounds.
And yeah, I'm gonna spend some time meditating and yes, close myself in my memories and try to get some more pillar points I'm so desperately thirsty for.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, 5 successes. Oh.
A beautiful roll. 5 on 7 dice.
Exact. Now that's just enough to get me to full. Ah.
Excellent.
I imagine my companions might be doing something similar.
Yeah. What of Tomos and Nesret? Are you guys also going to take the opportunity to meditate and recuperate, or are you guys itching to explore?
I'll probably meditate. Oh, meditation.
And I don't know if I think this might be the first time you've meditated to restore your pillar points. For Nesret.
Resolve plus composure.
No, it's just memory.
In this case, as an Arisen, you will use a slightly different pool for the meditation.
Oh.
So once per chapter, you can spend a scene in meditation, taking refuge in your memories and your sense of self. You roll your memory as a dice pool, and again, as bonuses we mentioned earlier, an additional +4 from your tomb's geometry rating and the relic. And each success that you get garners you a single pillar point of your choice. And something also to note, you cannot spend willpower on this roll. So 7 dice for Nesret as well, with a much more modest 2 successes. So assuming you pull from your tomb as well, another grand total of 3 points for you to fill your pillars back out with. And what of Tamos? Are you also going to be meditating, joining everyone else, or are you itching to do something else?
I'm not gonna meditate just yet for this chapter. I actually want to. I kind of want to go back into my my tomb, and I really want to see if I can find more memories possible. You know,
Sure.
wasn't able to do that last time.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, let's do that. So, the scene progresses. Seshet and Nesret meditate within their tomb, though it's perhaps not as, shall we say, refreshing, given the fact that there's still a lingering presence of a fiend within your tomb. Makes
Damn brains.
concentration perhaps a bit difficult, knowing that something foul is lurking within the very stones of your tomb. But while this is going on, Tamos is eager for answers, and returns to the sanctity of his private chambers within this shared necropolis of yours. And once again, you gaze upon your personal chamber. There's still the scattered remnants of your canopic jars, your organs dashed upon the floor, your sarcophagus standing ajar, and your collection, your antiquities, your antiques that you've so lovingly collected. A variety of arms from throughout your history, no doubt collected over many lifetimes, so lovingly and painstakingly collected and displayed. Though the display, again, is, should we say, there's a strange element mixed into this composition. The presence of a variety of tools, shall we say, whips, chains, manacles. they seem unfamiliar to you, and you're not sure why they're here. You're not sure who put them here, if not you, or who would even bother to do such a thing, given everything else that's happened thus far within your tomb. So many questions that you have rattling around, but your mind, your memories, shall we say, written as they are upon the scroll of ages, are missing sections. So much context lost in this mess, in this vast ocean of lives that you have lived. Why don't you give me another memory roll as you look at these implements, as you try to jog something to the forefront of your mind.
One sec.
Is that having difficulty?
Yeah, it's back now. So memory roll.
There we go. Hey, a single success on 3 dice. Admirable. So while the others spend their time meditating, rejuvenating themselves, you choose a different path. You need answers, and answers are something that you find, though perhaps not everything that you had hoped for. As you examine the items, the implements, you think, you ponder about these strange decorations in your tomb. The whips, the chains, the manacles. What could they mean? Who put them here if not you? Why? And what you do know, regardless of your memory, or your memory of self, I should say, is you know what these tools are. And they are tools. Tools for enslavement. And your experience thus far, you've seen that slavery appears to be as eternal as you, even in this day and age of man united behind a singular, loving God. Your trip through the city, you still saw slaves, these poor souls being bought, traded, sold on the marketplace. You dimly recall that Arisen was built upon the backs of countless slaves, and countless other civilizations have no doubt co-opted this brutal, albeit effective, method. And you remember now that your cult hasn't always been so different. From what you can recall, you'd always recruited from the dregs of society, those less likely to be seen, to be noticed, which included slaves. Those serving in the halls of royalty made for the perfect eyes and ears, the best way to keep tabs on those arrogant nobles that Neheb Ka deems fit to judge. You recall offering them service to a higher power, a greater purpose in their miserable lives. They were obedient. They served you well, as all your cult did. But as you think of your cult, you struggle to recall their faces. And while the images are still indistinct, there is something that does stand out to you in hindsight. The look of fear in their eyes when your gaze met theirs. You've seen the misplaced love of Father Vatatsi's for Seshet. You've seen the brazen boldness of Minervina speaking to you and Nesred, as if you were somehow equals. And now you have Vitalius, your inheritor, and he too is obedient. And as you think, as you try to recall every bit that you can, as you think back to your first encounter with Vitalius, you first spoke to him, first freed him from his prison, you sensed that same fear in him, like a scared child wincing before the rod, expecting punishment for his actions, for his failures. And bringing you back to the present, you know that even now, your inheritor, Vitalius, he suffers, beaten, broken, and wounded, as he is waiting for aid that he desperately needs. How long has it been now? How long has he been silently waiting, suffering in his silence? As you've sailed across the sea, made your way through the city, and been poking and prodding about your tomb, perhaps that gives you pause. Perhaps it doesn't. But that's for you to decide. But with that comes the cessation of this memory, of this flashback of yours, as you are frustratingly brought back into the present, your past, your history still kept just outside of your reach. But with that, perhaps more will come in time. Perhaps if you seek out more things that might remind you of these memories, sights, places, people, things reminiscent of these thoughts, of these recollections. Perhaps the picture might become more clear. But for now, that is what you are left with. And considering all that, what is it that Tomos does as the others continue with their meditation?
Thomas will walk back out of the tomb to where the rest of the companions are. He's going to look for Father Vitatsis.
Very well. So you leave your companions, you make your way back up the secret staircase into the decayed, shall we say, remnants of this this palace. And you see your companions. And by now, it's quite firmly into the night. It was twilight had just set when you had first descended, and now the skies are dark once again. There's a small fire in the hearth, as it were, keeping your little gaggle of companions somewhat warm throughout the night. And you see the lot of them kind of hovered close to the fire. At this point, Vitalius is fast asleep, and Minervina is awake, having just delivered the missive to Seshet not too long ago, and sleep is not coming easy for her. And she seems to have been biding her time by speaking to Father Vitazis. The two of them are kind of, again, sitting beside the fire, trying to keep themselves company, waiting, no doubt, for your return. And upon seeing you emerge out from the secret staircase, their attention, of course, immediately turns towards you. And Minervina is the first to break this silence, as it were. And again, rather abruptly addressing you, she kind of perks up a bit, but doesn't quite get out of her warm spot, as it were. She kind of, raises a hand at you and just inquires, how did it go?
Someone's definitely tampered with our resting place. We dealt with a creature, but I don't believe we fully banished it. We're currently working that out. I'll have to speak with my companions once they're done meditating. I have a favor to ask of both of you. Do either of you know any doctors in the area?
Doctor?
And Minervina kind of looks at you and kind of shrugs. But Father Vitazis, he kind of slowly nods and he says, yes, I know of one who might be able to help you. He once was a member of my congregation before I decided to go on my sabbatical, I guess you could call it. He was a good young man by the name of Eutropius Ypsilantis. He's a good surgeon, a good doctor. He serves out of the Velae Tudneria. Though, bless his soul, he's been doing what he can to heal the less fortunate amongst our population here.
You ask him to come here and keep as best he can.
I suppose I can seek him out and see if I can't help with that. Though I I imagine he might be, shall we say, a bit busy for a house call, given his particular work. But I'll see if I can't pull some strings. But
Do tell him it's urgent.
I'll see what I can do. And
Thank you.
with that, the priest kind of pulls his old bones out of the cold floor of the manor, and begins to make his way out of the dilapidated estate. But as he leaves, he kind of smiles and he just says, "Please send Seshet my regards."
I will do so.
And with that, the priest exits, departing into the night to try and find this doctor, as it were. Though such things take time. Now, with that, what does Nesret, change that? So, with the departure of with Father Vitanzi's here, you are left with Minervina and an unconscious Vitalius. Before we get back to our pair in the tomb, this scene go perhaps a bit longer. What do you intend to do in the time that you have now, as you wait once again for help to arrive for Vitalius? What's your next step, Tamos? Or what are you planning? What gears are turning in that mind of yours?
I suppose Thomas will wait next to Vitalius. See how he's doing. Wait for the doctor to finally come, or at least for the priest to return.
Sure. Do you intend to wake him, to speak with him, or are you just kind of
No, just
silently?
watch. Just watch since we've been through enough.
Very well. You watch and you wait, and before long, your companions, Seshet and Nesret, have concluded their meditation, feeling perhaps a bit more refreshed, more full of vigor, of soul juice, as it were, ready to take on what comes next. But speaking of what comes next, what do your characters intend to do now?
Well, obviously, I'm gonna go speak to this white jackal fellow. Yeah. And I'll bother to see if the other two want to come along with this meeting of the mummies. I'm interested to see how our associates are finding themselves. The turn of this Sothic,
The Sothic
beginning
turn.
of the Sothic turn, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Nesret, since we haven't gotten to you yet, what's going on in Nesret's mind? Is this something that you want to pursue right away, or is there something else that has your attention?
I got this religious text, and I want to know more about the religion in Constantinople. So I probably want to do some exploring with Minervina, and I kind of want to get something a bit better to hide in plain sight.
Okay.
A little
Don't
more
like the
fitting
priest
than
robes I got
priest
you?
robes.
You don't like being identified as some heretic
Religious
to your faith.
authority.
Yeah.
That, and also I feel like just a holy man in general stands out. Place him anyway.
Certainly gets a different degree of scrutiny, perhaps. People have a certain preconceived notion, perhaps, of the clergy. So, that settles things for Nesret, as you discuss this in the dark. Or should I say, beside the embers of the fire in the hearth. Given Nesret's answer, what does Tomos have to say about this? Is this something that intrigues you, or do you have other more pressing matters?
He certainly would like to meet this white jackal. However, he doesn't want to go until Father Vitatis gets back, with or without the doctor. He doesn't want to leave. He doesn't want Vitalis left alone. So he might actually ask, well, I assume I would like to meet the white jackal myself, but Nesret, if you intend to go off on your own at the same time, I should stay here. Perhaps Seshet can tell me everything.
I'll keep you up to date, and I just tap you lightly on the shoulder, and begin my journey towards the palace of Antioch.
Antiochus.
Antiochus. There we go.
Antiochus.
Old Greek words.
Yeah,
Have been my forte.
and I'm not saying my pronunciation is ideal either. I'm probably butchering some of this Greek, but I'll do my best. So, to reiterate, we have Seshet intending to meet with this white jackal. We have Tomos, who is waiting for the return of this doctor, and we have Nesret, who's inclined to do some research and try and converse with Minervina. Do I got that all correct?
I need some shopping too.
And some shopping, yes.
Maybe some discounted shopping.
Yeah, something of...
It's not stealing if it's from filthy heretics of other religions.
something of the sort, perhaps.
5-finger discount.
All right. So, with that, let me see who I'm going to pick on first here. I'll just roll for it. All right. So, we are going to start with Nesret here. So, first things first, I'm assuming Seshet bids everyone else adieu and makes her way towards the palace, leaving the two of you left with your companions. With Tomos waiting by Vitalius and Nesret, you have your own plans in motion. And seeing as Tomos is, shall we say, indisposed, waiting for medical aid to arrive, what do you intend to do, or how do you how do you start your affairs? Do you intend to go like doing your 5-finger discount shopping first, or do you intend to strike up a conversation with Minervina first? What sort of things? What's first on the plate for Nesret?
I'm gonna talk to Minervina about procuring some new clothes or disguise, however.
Sure. How do you broach that conversation? What do you say to Minervina as a lot of you are gathered around the fire here?
I'll just mention it. I'm like, I think I should look at getting a change of clothes. I don't feel these might draw too much attention, and they're a bit outside my style, so to speak. If she knows any places around, or
Well, Minervina kind of looks at you like a bit quizzically, and she's not quite sure how to broach the subject to you, but she just kind of looks at you and she's like, "That's all well and good, but you realize what time it is, right?" And she kind of like just gestures to like the moonlit sky, and she's like, "I don't wager many vendors will be out and about at this hour."
I guess you make a good point. I'll show her the Bible. Is that what it was? The religious text?
Yeah, the Bible that you had found in your tomb.
I'll ask her what she knows about this.
What is this?
So you point it out to her, and she again kind of looks at you quizzically, like, "Who is this? Like, who's this guy?" Like you're just like clueless, and Minervina's like, "That's I believe that is a Bible." And Father Vitatzes, who's also here, relaxing, I should say, perks up at the mention of this, and he takes a cursory look at the tome. He spies the cross, as it were, on its front, and indeed, rather matter of factly confirms, yes, that's a Bible, as if it's like some common sense like fact that you are too obtuse or foreign to understand.
Jeez. I'll look at it. I'll think about throwing it in a fire for a second, and I think it might be useful later. She's a pagan, right?
Yes. From your time on the island of Antioch, you managed to talk to her a little bit, and indeed she'd come to that place, specifically to the Temple of Apollo there, hoping that it might provide some clarity for the visions that she experiences.
So yeah, I think that's I don't know much, but I'm pretty sure you're not much of a. This isn't much your style. How about you tell me about Apollo?
Apollo.
What he means to you.
Well, I don't know if he precisely means much to me. my family, as it were, come from shall we say, a long line of pagans, I guess you would call us. But I don't have much experience with the faith myself. Most of the shrines, the temples, were destroyed or turned into churches long before I was born. But my mother, she often told me stories, fables, myths of the gods and their ventures, the heroes of old. But when I was young, I started receiving visions, I guess you could say. And when I told others of them, it was not received well. There were some that believed that there was something wrong with me, that something evil had taken hold of me, work of some devil or something. But Mother always told me that I was special, that Apollo, he was the patron of those like myself. Oracle, she called them. But that was my first experience, shall we say, with trying to, I don't know, have Apollo answer my prayers. It's one thing to, shall we say, pray in the comfort of one's own home. It's another thing to try and seek out a god and preach the subject a bit more directly, as it were, but that, as I'm sure you can tell, turned out to be a bit of a bust. I tried. I did. But, I don't think he deigns to answer, or if he can even hear me with his temple being the way that it is, destroyed and defaced. I doubt he's very pleased with humanity. But repairing that temple is, well, it's beyond my means. But here I am now. And Father Vatatsi's kind of chimes in with this, and he's like, no wonder you are so lost, child. You turn towards these pagan gods. Of course they won't hear you. You need to put your faith in Christ, child. Only he can show you the way. And Minervina just kind of rolls her eyes as if this is something that she's heard too many times before.
I think I'll smirk a little bit, and I'll ask her. She mentioned having visions. What kind of visions was she having? What did she see?
Well, a lot of things, but it's... How do I put this? It's all kind of... It's all kind of a mess, as it were. It's confusing. It's like I don't know, like a jumble of images being thrown at you in rapid succession. It's not as if I'm there. It's more symbols and omens than anything. I was hoping that Apollo might take pity on me, might help me make these visions more clear, more comprehensible, I guess. Find some meaning from them, though. I guess you could say they're prophetic, in a sense. I've seen bits and pieces of things, and sometimes these images, these scenes, they come to pass in their own way. Just as I saw you and your companions, and here you are in front of me.
Explains your interest when we met. Was there anything that was reoccurring in these specifically, or was it?
Yes. I mean, most images, most symbols, they're a bit repetitive, I guess you would say. Though repetition doesn't necessarily help. Sometimes it just feels as if someone's hitting my head with a hammer, trying to pound something into me, and it's clearly not working. But there was always one that was particularly clear, though it never made any sense. It was a sculptor, a craftsman, I guess. And I don't know why, but he would examine a statue, as it were. It was lifelike, remarkably, like you were staring at a man made of marble, and he would admire his creation, and then he'd take a chisel and he would strike the piece, and he would break it bit by bit into these little squares, little rectangles, all of them almost uniform, all of them more or less the same, until he had deconstructed this statue, but I can't make heads or tails of it. I don't know why you would ruin something like that just to break it down into pieces. Seems, I don't know, it seems like a waste to me. Or I don't even know why I would be seeing this.
Maybe he was seeking some kind of knowledge in it. You know, I don't think I've told you much about my own religion. And meta, I don't know much about Emerite anyway. I guess I'm curious. I can make some kind of like roll.
Why don't you go ahead and give me, let's say intelligence and occult, and of course apply your Remite religion specialty. See how much you recall. So 3 successes of 7 dice. That's pretty good. So mind you, you don't remember much from Irem, if really anything at all, at least that of your life within it. But you do recall the faith, as it were, and I don't know, shall we say, I assume that Nesret considers himself a faithful Arisen, a spiritual mummy, perhaps, but there was most definitely a religion of sorts from the old days, though the only conduit, the only link you have to that now is the link that you share. The burden that you bear to your judge, to Nebha, the flame. But you know that Nebha is one of many. There are 42 judges, 42 assessors of Ma'at. Your companions. They worship other judges of the sort, though I don't believe you've bothered to inquire or ask which masters they serve. It is enough, perhaps, that you all serve the judges. But you recall that there were more than the judges. Other gods, as it were, the nameless gods of the Empire. And you recall of these, of the old gods, perhaps the central divinity of Irem, that of Azar, the god, shall we say, most praised, the patron of the City of Pillars, of Irem, the king of the underworld, that green-skinned god. You also recall dimly another of these gods, Anpu, the jackal, the guardian of Netter Kartet. And you dimly recall meeting him before, that he guards the way to Duat, though you can scarcely recall the conversation, if any, that took place. Just the impression, the aura that you felt standing before a literal god, and that awestruck sort of sense. But naming gods is one thing. There's the matter of orthodoxy of the faith, and you were not a priest. Obviously, you know that you belong to the guild of architects, of builders. You are a Tef-Abi. You are not a Sumanent. You were not close to the Shanyatu, the sorcerer priests, as they were. But you recall that the gods of your empire were distant ones, at least in your living days. Now, as a undead servant, things are different, but you recall, at least, that the gods were not to be worshipped directly. That was not the providence of mortal men. They were not to listen to your pleas. You, the peasantry, the plebeians, the classes of men and women in that age, their faith was to be brought before the sorcerer priests. They were the only conduit, the only channel between you and divinity. They were the ones that should pray to the gods on your behalf, should they even deem your request worthy. That is what you remember most prominently, that these new religions, the most striking difference to you is this new sense of intimacy, of these people having this personal relationship to God that seems like such a strange thing to you when your religion had been so heavily, shall we say, filtered, that you were not to have a relationship with your gods, but that others would entreat upon your behalf, that you were beneath their notice, beneath their gaze.
Just taking some notes. I guess finishing that up, I'm a little bit curious about Mr. Priestman over there, my Bible. Well, I guess what kind of reaction do I see from, I'm guessing, the priest and Minervina?
So, Minervina seems actually pretty intrigued as to what you have to say. As a woman searching for answers, she doesn't seem to, shall we say, discriminate in where those answers might come from. If not Apollo, then perhaps through you, or perhaps through your gods, as they were. She might make heads or tails of her visions, and thus she's pretty well entranced with what you have to say. Curious, maybe a bit skeptical, but intrigued nonetheless. But Father Vatatzes is hearing none of this. He listens with kind of this, not, shall we say, an outright scorn or distaste for you. She knows that you are close to Seshet, as it were. But he kind of scoffs at this notion, as if you're like talking just kind of nonsense. These are some distant foreign gods from some far off land. They've nothing to do. This is you are in the seat of Christian power. This is a heart, a nexus for the faithful here. Although, I guess out of character, the papacy does not reside here, but that's another story. But nonetheless, the prevalence of churches everywhere you look gives you the impression that this is a city of this faith, quite well dedicated. It is the majority here, if not almost the entirety of the people in this city, seem to at least give some credence to this pervasive religion, as it were. And as this conversation is going on, Tomos is still here, listening into all of this. Or are you even like bothering to listen? Are you like tuning all of this out? Do you have something to add, or are you just kind of just letting this nonsense unfold?
I'm just kind of letting it happen. I don't really. Thomas is not really a strictly religious kind of person. Mummy kind of just lets him ramble. He's got better things to do.
You're here to do what your judge asks. You're not here to think about questions of spirituality. A man dedicated to the task at hand. With Tomos's resounding silence and going back to Nesret, you've kind of relayed this information to them, or at least as much as you deign to tell them, or however you want to spin, shall we say, your religion. They hear what you have to say, but what do you do next? You've told Minervina a bit about your faith, and she seems interested. She seems intrigued.
Perfect. I guess noticing the priest, I'll be like, maybe you can give. I'm not very comfortable. I mean, I'm not familiar with the pantheon worshipped here. Maybe you could give me a shortcut as opposed to this book.
On the Bible, this book. Oh man.
Yeah. Quite the tome. So, with that, and is that directed at the priest, at Father Otatsi's, or are you trying to plug Minervina for answers?
You know what? I'll rephrase that a little bit. I trust Minervina more. What does she know? Do you know much of the religions here? This monotheistic thing I heard about.
Yeah.
Like, what this?
Yeah, one god.
Weird.
What? So you inquire for Minervina about her perspective on things, and she is, how should we say, she informs you that I don't know much about the faith. I'm no nun, but I probably know as much as any other lay person, I guess. I've dabbled in the faith, as it were, but it never gave me much answers. It never gave me the clarity that I sought, and depending on what priest I asked, they either thought that God was trying to send me a vision, or that Satan was trying to tempt me into sin. And it was never really clear which, though. Let's just say that not everyone took kindly to me being different, shall we say.
I'll ask the priest what his opinion on this is. It seems like there's not even a consensus among his own.
And Father Tatsi's, he just kind of raises a hand and he's like, with anything, there are, shall we say, a variety of perspectives. I'm sorry not everyone has given you a warm welcome for these things that you've experienced, child. But you seek answers. There's only one source of truth in this world, and that is through the light of Christ. If only you would abandon your fruitless searching. What if these pagan gods given to you, they do not answer your prayers? But I promise you, child, if you devote yourself fully, if you truly give your heart to Christ, he will show you the way. But you can't dabble in these things, child. You can't take and choose what you want from different faiths. You need to devote yourself wholeheartedly. That's the only way you can truly know to have that a personal relationship to God. You need to let him into your heart, accept him fully, and then I'm sure you will know what he plans for you. And Nervina again kind of, not exactly scoffs, but kind of rolls her eyes a bit, though she's a bit more, shall we say, receptive to the empathetic pleas of Father Vatatzis. But judging... Actually, you know what? Why don't you give me a wits and empathy roll? I want to see how well Nesret can read the room here.
I'll use willpower. Woo.
2 successes.
2 successes on. All right. So, you have a decent handle on the room here. So, the the conversation's starting to come up, shall we say, on a bit of a sore spot for Minervina. Like, you can tell that, like, she's been through this before. She's been burned by this before. But you can tell that she seems to be the kind of person that is really desperate for answers. And it's that vulnerability that kind of leaves her open to anyone that claims to provide those answers. Whoever that might be, she's someone in search of structure. And you can tell, like, even though she's been burned before, like, there's still that kind of lingering thought in her head as this conversation unfolds of, you know, starting to consider Father Vitatsi's words as, you know, maybe she didn't try hard enough the first time. Maybe she didn't do it right. And given that she just spent that time praying to Apollo in his ruined temple, maybe that's not worth it. Maybe it's worth revising or revisiting the Christian faith and seeing if maybe that has the answers this time. But regardless, you get that sense that she's lost, that she's looking for answers, and she's willing to consider what the priest has to say, if only because she's that, I wouldn't say desperate, but she's vulnerable, and you reckon that someone could take advantage of that vulnerability.
Someone like you.
Yeah. Can I, I want to do some preaching. It's been a while.
Y'all need a czar.
So, I'll maybe start off a little, I don't want to say snarky, but, because we found him on the island too, right? And he seemed a little bit disenfranchised with the state of...
Yes, if you recall, he was on the island. He said that he had received, much like Minervina, that he had experienced dreams, visions that were telling him to build this temple on the island, and he was quite unsuccessful, had not accomplished what he had sought out to do by the time that you all had reached him. And in fact, he's become a bit of Seshet's disciple, though given his disposition, it seems like he thinks that Seshet is, should we say, more in line with his faith, that he doesn't realize that Seshet, like, shares this, presumably shares the same religion that you do. Like, for someone that's following Seshet so closely, it is
He's
perhaps...
never quite come up with a ask the question.
Yeah.
Hey, do you believe in Jesus and all that?
Yeah, he seems to be operating under this assumption, though again, I should say, aren't familiar, I guess, with Seshet's level of devotion or spirituality. This hasn't quite come up as of yet, but it's probably safe to say that she's more or less in line with Eremite orthodoxy. level of
If only you knew.
level of practicing, who knows? But you don't know. But you can always assume, as one might.
I'm
It
gonna
might
make
be
some assumptions.
it might be wrong, but you can assume.
I can always assume. Yeah, here's a judge he answers to.
So what does Nesrit intend to do here?
So, I guess maybe I'll suggest that, kind of bring up how we, maybe like, kind of like passively ask about, or like passively kind of state how, we found him. Seemed like he was looking for his own answers, his god wasn't necessarily answering him either. And, I would like to preach, I guess, about my judges and I guess what they've done for me. I guess I this is where I get my power from, as I've witnessed.
So
I would have been able to do with it. And
so
yeah.
you say this. What exactly is your intent here? What are you trying to do by, kind of belittling Father Vitatsi's experiences and praising your more obvious source of power?
I guess I wouldn't necessarily it wouldn't necessarily be straight up just trying to belittle.
Calling into question.
Kind of
calling into question.
Yeah. I'm questioning because it seems like they're not necessarily getting the answers or what they want from it. But here I am dripping with Sikhem and all this power that I've actually gotten from my god.
So,
and although I may not have all the answers, I've been given the tools to search and find them.
So what's your intent with this? Are you trying to sway one or both of them to your point of view? Or do you have something, or are you just kind of just continuing to shoot the shit, as it were?
I guess I am trying to sway them, but maybe more of a I guess suggest that, maybe that they might be looking at it wrong. That maybe the answers they seek are elsewhere too.
Okay.
I guess just kind of because I have my judge I answer to, and I'm drawing a blank on everything about him right now. I know it's righteous proof.
Nebha the Flame.
Yeah.
Your judge. And if I recall correctly, Nebha the Flame is a judge of truth and lies.
Truth and lies. There we go.
Yes. Burning away all deception with its harsh light, leaving only the hard reality of veracity in its wake. A very intense presence, an intense judge, this burning ball of light, as it were. Why don't, as you're trying to get them to, question their preconceptions and, trying to slowly bring them to you. Now, I take that one step back. Are you attempting to sway both of them equally, or are you trying to, pull on one more than another? Is this being, are these pointed questions, being addressed, to Father Vitatsis, more specifically, or is this kind of an allegory more for Minervina, or are you trying to, persuade both of them, to your point of view?
I'm more of just trying to, it's more about for Minervina, but, maybe help suggest
if you happen to get something out of him. Yeah, so, this definitely seems like a case for...
Because she kind of wants answers, right? And that's... I mean, we're seeking out the truth.
Yeah.
We'll find it out. Work with me and we'll find her answers.
So, given this is probably a good opportunity to pull on the old social maneuvering system. So, this is definitely kind of a long-term goal, shall we say, the conversion of one or both of these. So, this will be, to kind of put this rather quickly and simply, it'll be a series of checks, or in this case, they call them doors, that you need to open each door towards this conversion, towards bringing them around to your way of thinking, is a separate roll, spanning some length of time, depending of their like general impression of you. But for this initial attempt, for your first roll, this sounds like a pretty as far as to what dice pool, I could either see like a persuasion, if this is more of like a reasoned argument of why they should think the way that you think, or if this is more of like a poetic sort of experience of like, this, as you like go into the details of your faith and your judge and what they can do and what you're capable of, you might kind of be shall we say, diverting more into like a sermon, which might be more in line with something like expression, if you're trying to kind of like firebrand them into your way of thinking. Or, I mean, if you really want, you could also technically maybe do something with empathy, if you're really trying to like get at their personal issues, and trying to like understand how they think their vulnerabilities and kind of using those to your advantage. But either way, this would probably be either a manipulate or presence for the attribute, depending on what avenue. But I'll leave that up to you as to what, like, how you see Nesret going about this. Is this more like a sermon? Is this more of like a like a rational sort of conversation? Like, how do you see this unfolding? What avenue do you try and use to get to them?
I wouldn't necessarily call it a manipulation. It's more of a presence. I mean, it doesn't really matter role-wise, because they're both the same. But I think I'm definitely trying to be a bit more expressive about it. I got the nice allegory. We're sitting around a flame, a fire.
Yes.
That ties in pretty well too, and like the warmth. So probably pulling on the environment, the light, and I guess what kind of like the important. Maybe a sermon about the importance of fire and like
the burning
importance of fire, but like
the burning light of truth. Yes, you do a little proselytizing. So in that case, since it sounds like you're kind of going more on like the sermon route of trying to like get them energized, as it were, preach to them, I guess, that would probably fall more under presence and expression. So why don't you go ahead and give me that roll?
I haven't done this yet, but could I use my Pillar of Ka to reinforce that expression?
Now that
no.
will depend. So typically the pillar points can only be spent on your physical attributes, strength, dex, stamina. However, each decree also has some favored attributes, and you can also boost favored attributes, though it's on a 1 by 1 basis per pillar
Okay,
point.
so like bump
spent.
it up for okay.
So you are Ka. which is
Resolve and stamina.
Nesrem. So yes, you unfortunately only have resolve and
That's
stamina.
alright.
You can bolster.
Yeah.
There are, however, some affinities that you could pick up later that would allow you to use pillar points to bolster, specific roles, whether it be like social or mental.
I might have a.
Set
I
has
might
divine
have a
countenance, which lets her reinforce her social attributes.
Yes. So you could pick up, like Seshret here, you could get that divine countenance, and that would give you that helpful boost there if you want your soul juice to help you talk to people better.
Um. Oh, the tower of perspective doesn't really help me here.
You could use it
You
to
know, it's
threaten
really
him.
important for me, so I'll just spend my last willpower.
Okay.
I want to be successful on this roll. 3 successes.
3 successes. So a solid start, as it were. So you give your sermon, as it were, on the importance of your faith and the practicality of it, that these other religions claim to give answers, and here you are, a being imbued with life, come back from the dead, though I don't necessarily know if you deign to share that much with them, but nonetheless, you can explain that you have these powers at your disposal, that they've seen these powers firsthand, and that it's this real, tangible magic that you have obtained through your faith, and that they too could have this real, this tangible magic of divinity made manifest, if only they too saw things the way that you do. And they, with 3 successes, they listen fairly intently to your sermon. And Father Vatatzis is, shall we say, has more of a professional interest, as it were. He seems more intrigued in your sermon as the construction, shall we say, of your sermon. The way in which you tell your story, as someone who is a priest himself, he finds perhaps some inkling of similarity there, of like, yes, someone else who understands the power of the spoken word, of spreading the faith. Although he certainly doesn't agree with the faith that you're espousing. But yes, it seems more of a professional, shall we say, interest to Father Vatatzis, who just kind of nods along with what you're saying, though he's making it fairly obvious that he still does not agree with it. But he's at least hearing you out, which seems to be a step in the right direction. But Minervina, she was already pretty intrigued with you. She's kind of stuck to you throughout all of this, despite a lot of things that would normally dissuade normal people. And this is no exception, as you speak about gods and magic powers. And Minervina, she latches on pretty, I don't want to say solidly, but you definitely seem like she's definitely seems open to what you have to say. She's intrigued. She's interested. And I mean, after all, she's followed you this far. What's stopping her from following you on your next steps in this journey? But anyway, with that, Father Fatatsi's kind of cuts you off, and he's like, I've heard enough. If if you don't mind, I'm that's enough for me. And with that,
No more heresy, please.
yes, he with he makes his exit, leaving you alone with Minervina, and Minervina as well deigns to get up and out of here. The night is still young, as it were, and Vitalius and Tomos are resting, though of course Tomos has no need for sleep, nor do any of you. You deathless creatures, you. Though there is perhaps some value in rest, should the lot of you wish to recuperate some willpower. But Minervina is kind of eager to get out of this dilapidated manor and, shall we say, enjoy the night air. And she kind of gets up and takes her leave, as it were, after this brief little exchange that you've all had. And as Minervina leaves, she kind of looks at you, Nesret, and she kind of beckons you as she's walking out, and she's like, maybe we can continue this elsewhere. I'd like to hear more, if you don't mind.
I can take a hand. I'll go.
So, you and Minervina take a bit of a stroll, and you continue to talk to should we say, regale her with what you know of your faith, and as you're walking, let me actually change the music here. I have something. So you stroll through the city of Constantinople at night, and the city is much, shall we say, less bustling than it was before, though a few, shall we say, brave or foolhardily souls are out and about at night, no doubt making their way to or from a tavern, perhaps. But for the most part, you and Minervina are left to a relative sense of privacy. And as the as the two of you walk, what do you deign to share with her? Like you've kind of gotten her ear at this point, and now that you've have this kind of brief moment to yourselves, no other mummies, no concerns of tombs and fiends and Amkat. It's just you and this intriguing woman who's, shall we say, intrigued with these fanciful tales that you've had to tell. What do you choose to share on your little moonlit stroll? Or do you just try and keep things like silent and enjoy the night air awkwardly and quiet?
Can I make a memory roll to see if I have any? Trying to think of any stories that may be of interest. I guess trying to appeal, because I guess notice she appealed to, I guess, empathy pretty well.
Sure, give me
It may not be my strongest thing, but maybe I can think of a memory or
give me
an example.
Give me another memory roll.
Is that just straight memory then?
Yes.
Oh, come on, don't fail me now, dummy. Ah!
2 successes. So
All 3 died.
the lot of you stroll not too far from the Magana quarter, but you kind of rack your head for what stories that you can share. Trying to jostle some sort of memory free. And you kind of share small talk, as it were, as you try and jostle this thing loose. But before long, you find yourselves in, shall we say, oddly familiar environs. You and Minervina have approached or I should say, have reached the Agostion, this kind of central courtyard, as it were, the heart of the city. And so many magnificent sights are here from this central courtyard. You can spy off in the distance the long building, which is the Hippodrome, though it has now grown quiet, and the magnificent and imposing Imperial Palace. But there's an unfamiliar structure here. There's some lingering deja vu. But something else stands out to you. This great building, this great domed structure that now stands. You don't recall it. But you do recall where you are at. The scenery, this courtyard seems familiar. You've been here before, and you look at this building, and this, how do I put this? This structure, it reminds you of something, even though you haven't encountered it before. And when you try and recall something, eventually something does come to the forefront of your mind. And it's not a pleasant story. It's not something you perhaps wish to share, but it comes to you nonetheless. You see it again in your mind, the image of a cross, as you stare at this great domed basilica, this Hagia Sophia, as Minervina would explain to you. You see this symbol, the cross, in your mind's eye again, and for some reason you hate this symbol, you despise it, yet you are not sure why, save for, that is, yet another false faith, of these misguided mortals. They worship this Christ figure, but why? But how is one God so captured the hearts of man? How have the pantheons of Greece, of Rome, fallen into obscurity? Even the gods of Egypt, bastardized that they are, of your gods, of the gods of Arisen, they've been all but forgotten. In your brief time in the city, you haven't seen any signs of pagan worship. Nothing of the sort. But you've seen the cross everywhere you look, everywhere you turn. It fills you with a familiar sensation of rage, of wrath. You picture the soldier again, writhing in pain as you light him aflame. And you picture a cross burning with him. This is not the first time you've set the faith ablaze. You stare down a grand church, torch in hand. The building's beauty only fills you with more rage, seeing such potential squandered on such heresy. The torch is not the only thing which burns. Smoke fills the air, ash gently raining from a darkened sky. There are other fires in the city, burning, raging, and you recall that you are determined that this monument to this false god of man must burn as well. How little could it matter adding one more piece of fuel to the bonfire? You recall tossing the torch, and the church goes up in flames. You watch as the cross blackens and burns. The sight itself sears into your retinas until little is left but a smoldering after image in your mind. And with that, I think we are going to take a little break on that note, and then we shall jump over to our other mummies and see what they're doing in the meantime. Be back in just a few minutes here, so sit tight. All right, and we are back. So, with that, our little vision experienced by Nesret, we're going to switch gears here, and we are going to jump back over to Seshet, who has been making her way towards the palace of Antiochus, hoping to meet with this white jackal that has sent her this rather formal, shall we say, Aramite invitation. Now, it doesn't take you too long to reach the area, as it were, being not too far from the Augustion, this palace. And you too enjoy the night air as you walk through the streets of the city of Constantinople until you come upon the palace. And it is... Now, again, you're no architect, but it is certainly an impressive, if perhaps ostentatious, structure. And as you approach it from the street, you see the grand, sort of decorated doors leading into this palace. There are a set of soldiers that stand watch out front. There's a small little brazier lit beside them, crackling, and one of the soldiers is kind of like leaning on his spear, almost trying not to doze off, while the other kind of eyes you with a bit of curiosity, but you also might not like the look in his eye. But nonetheless, how do you approach these guys? What do you say? What do you do?
So I kind of want to take in my surroundings a bit. Do I see any Aramite
Iconography?
Thank you. I cannot pronounce that particular word today. I don't know why.
Yeah, fair enough.
Bit of a tongue twister, a little bit. Yeah, see if maybe there's any sign on the walls, or maybe in these guards' armor or whatnot.
Yeah. Why don't you give me we'll say probably a perception check, I guess.
Composure and wits. Here we go. Nope.
A big fat 0 successes. So you kind of look around, try and see if you can spot any hidden symbols or anything that might indicate that you're walking in the right direction, or that this might belong to some Aramite. It's unsurprisingly a bit hard to see in the dark, with only the stars to light your way. And unfortunately, you don't spy any sort of indicative symbols of your ancient culture about.
Okay. Yeah, I'll approach the guards, and I'll take out the summons that had been given, and I'll quite simply said, I am Sisette, and I've been summoned here. And hopefully, just through name dropping my own name, I'm able to just kind of wow these guards. Hopefully, I don't know if they know my name.
And the two guards, the one kind of perks up a bit, kind of half asleep, wakes up, and the two of them look at you and examine the missive in
I
your
wonder
hand.
if they can read.
And they kind of like scratch their heads at it, and they can't seem to quite make heads or tails of it. And the two guards kind of look at each other a bit quizzically and look back at you. And the more, shall we say, alert of the pair says, I'm sorry, what is this?
This is the missive. Yeah. And I'm gonna try to like read these guys as I'm like talking to them. I'm like, are these people like completely like out of the whole Ironman like loop here? Do they have like really no idea what I'm talking about? Like, oh, like Sasette. Like when I show them the seal, like they don't seem to be able to quite read it. Like, would an empathy
Yeah.
roll be appropriate there?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and give me wits and empathy?
Let's go. No, God, my dice are horrible today.
Your dice are horrible today. Another 0 successes on 4 dice. So, you try and get a read on them, but the meter kind of fluctuates between, are they messing with me, or are they stupid? And
Yeah.
it kind of vacillates between the two.
But yeah, and I can just I give them like a stern look. I can assure you, I have been summoned here, and I kind of like do that sort of like kind of like drill like make eye contact with them and just drill like my like focus into them, and like I'm trying to like. Well, the missive didn't work. I'm just gonna try to be arrogant and haughty enough till these guards let me in.
Sure. That sounds like a little bit of intimidation to me. A bit of presence, bit of a stare down.
So I have striking looks regal. And the striking looks as being regal. Would you say that would apply there?
Yeah. We'll say that applies. You've got that appearance of nobility, of royalty. You look like you might belong in the halls of some palace.
Yeah. 4 successes. My dice have come back.
And with a vengeance, your dice most certainly have. And the two guards kind of gaze at each other, and eventually they kind of shrug.
What's the worst you can do?
Yeah. What is this woman going to do? And why don't you give me another, shall we say, wits and empathy roll?
2 successes.
2 successes. So they seem a bit confused at this whole endeavor, and you get the impression they've maybe gotten the wrong idea about why you are here. A woman showing up to the palace in the dead of night, and the two kind of like look at each other and realize that mistakenly that you might be company for someone in the palace, and the two of them kind of unsure about how to proceed. Nonetheless, shall we say, accept the situation for what they mistakenly believe it to be, and they open the doors for you and permit you to go inside. And
Wait.
yes, I presume you stroll in as if you
Roll
knew
right in.
exactly what you were Like you know what you're doing.
I belong here, right?
Yeah. You give that aura off of I know what I'm doing and I belong here, and that's enough for the guards. Now, within the palace, it is perhaps even more impressive from the interior. From what you can see, this section of the palace kind of opens up into this large kind of hexagonal hall connected to the kind of a wide semicircular portico. And it kind of encloses this courtyard that's been paved with marble, and it seems to serve as the hall seems to serve as some sort of dining hall, and most peculiarly, there's a marble pool that's been placed in the center of this hall, and this kind of central chamber is kind of flanked by a number of other rooms kind of branching off from this central chamber. And as you stride through these marble-clad halls, you see that there's another figure who's up at this hour. You see a man in kind of loose-fitting but fine silks, a beautifully patterned tunic, as it were, and the man kind of he stands out in this courtyard past the hall, and he kind of looks out towards the skyline of the city, as it were, and the moonlit sky, and if he's heard your approach, as it is the steps, your feet hitting the marble, as it were, he doesn't turn towards the sound of the noise, but seems quite thoroughly engrossed and soaking in the ambiance of the city, as it were. What'd you do?
I'll approach this man and come up to him, and I guess like for a moment, like I'll try to hear and see what he's paying attention to, which is quite obviously the city from your description. And I'll let him have the first word, actually.
Yeah, so you walk up to him, you try and see what he's seeing. And with that, before, he turns to address you as you're trying to see what he's seeing in this moment, why don't you give me another wits and an empathy roll. This we'll say at a -2.
One success.
A single success. That's enough. That's something. You get an inkling of what's going on in that head of his, and he is probably say once you get a chance to see his face, as it were. There is how do I want to say, a certain stoicism in his face, and he doesn't appear to be looking at the city, shall we say, directly, as it were. But almost seems like focused or transfixed on some other idea, almost looking past it, or like on towards the horizon, as it were, towards something beyond, something towards the future, as it were.
Do I recognize this man? Have I seen him before? Like, I could try racking my mind, or memory, to be more precise.
Yeah, why don't you give me another memory roll here?
2 successes, baby!
All right.
I don't know if you know this, Trevor, but your webcam's not showing on the stream anymore.
Yeah. Let me try and refresh here. I don't know why it's frozen. Here. Let me quick pop over here. Give me 1 second. Let me just pop to B-roll quick here, because I'll probably have to reset.
Yeah, I just scratched my mind trying to remember, have I seen this person before? And I rolled 2 successes on my memory roll. Yeah, I just scratched my mind trying to remember, have I seen this person before? And I rolled 2 successes on my memory roll. I don't know if it's the white jackal. Yeah, I'll break this awkward silence, and I will give a nod and guess extend a hand in greeting. It's like, hello, I am Chasette, and I can only assume that you are the white jackal. Oh.
No?
I don't know if it's the white jackal. Oh yeah, you right. Your audio is not coming through the stream at all. Sorry, folks. Yeah, I'll break this awkward silence. Looks like technical difficulties are not yet over. Please bear along with us. Greeting. It's like, hello, I am just and stand by. I can only assume that you are the
All right. Sorry for the dog. Hopefully, you should be able to hear me now. So,
Let's do a quick test.
yeah, testing. I'm seeing green on my end, so. Nonetheless. So, again, getting back to where we were, a bit of a roundabout thing there. So again, you would you had seen this individual staring out at the night sky, kind of not so much looking at the city, but looking past it towards the horizon. And you recall seeing this man's face before, though you're not quite sure where, but he is familiar to you. But
He's a white jackal. He's not a mummified corpse.
Not quite. But he, as far as your memory, your recollection of him, you know that he is an Arisen. You dimly recall another life of yours that you had spent time alongside him. A kindred soul, as it were. Though you recall working on something together, that you had been allies before in another life, in a distant life. But you don't recall what you were working towards, but perhaps that will come in time. But nonetheless, how did you deign to address this figure again?
Yeah, I don't know for certain that's the white jackal, right?
You don't know for certain, but you know that you know this individual. The face is familiar enough, but it's not enough context to pin a name. A
Could be like one of his merit, or
It could be another of a merit, or another mummy that you've encountered. It's hard to say for certain.
Yeah. I will quite simply extend my hand in greeting and say, "Hello, I am Shasette, and I'm here to meet with the white jackal of the what was the name of the merit?
Of the Kent Henu.
The Kent Henu, which I believe is the first chorus?
Yes, if you want to translate that from Eremite. And with that, the figure manages to pull his gaze, as it were, away from the distance, out of his thoughts, and into the present, as it were. And you get perhaps a better look at him, the full profile rather than from the side, from behind. And again, he's wearing these fine, kind of loose-fitting silk tunic, and he's a surprisingly young man, of what you might guess to be Libyan ancestry. His skin is kind of olive, and his hair is a long, dark brown. And he turns towards you, and still with kind of one hand on the railing of this little courtyard, he seems a bit amused, a bit surprised, and the man simply says, I wasn't expecting you to arrive so soon.
I found myself with some free time. Your guards definitely weren't expecting me.
No, I thought for sure that you had other business to attend to, but I hope they didn't give you too much trouble.
Not too much. I enjoy a challenge. I'm sorry, I am speaking to the white jackal, right?
Yes. You would be correct.
My apologies. My memory's not what it used to be. I'm sure you can sympathize.
Yes. It is a familiar struggle, shall we say. I'm well accustomed to the vagaries of memory, but nonetheless, it is not in the past or the future that we find each other, but here, in the present. And you spoke of free time. Indeed, I believe we all find ourselves with free time, as it were. And you see he takes a pensive gaze at Sothis as it blazes brightly at the height of its ascent in the night sky.
I don't remember the last time I've had such a luxury.
Indeed.
Tell me, what is this meeting about?
Well, if you must know, I wanted to welcome you to our fine city, to Constantinople. I had heard of your arrival here. You apparently made quite an entrance, if I must say so myself. Or at least from what I've heard.
Discretion has never been my speciality.
And
I get the... Oh, sorry.
a bold choice of yours, might I say, to share your name so freely with others.
And would you not?
I would not have summoned you as the white jackal, as it were, if I had no concern for such a thing. Names are a tricky thing, I find. I prefer to keep my identity, shall we say, a bit more personal, a bit more private, as it were. But to each their own.
I understand. But I have the feeling of kinship amongst us. Would you not share your name with me?
Perhaps in time. Trust is something to be earned, not freely given. And as of yet, I have little reason to trust you, though I imagine in time you will prove yourself to be worthy of trust. But to other things. You've spent some time in the city here. Pray tell, what do you think of it?
They know how to make a good dome. The architecture isn't like anything else I've seen. And the walls so tall. I can only wonder how the city compares to Irem. If only I could remember.
Yes. If only. If only. Though there are, shall we say, other means of remembering, if not from personal experience. Though I was hoping that you might find some familiarity with the architecture. I'm quite proud of it myself.
You worked on it yourself? You were contributed to the city?
Contributed. That's an apt word, I suppose. Let us say I've had a certain guiding hand, I suppose. The dome, that is, shall we say, crowning jewel. Though I cannot claim full credit for such things. I am merely a visionary. I'm not the hands that build. I am the one that wields the tools that create empires. But I have my own part to play, and I imagine you as well. You mentioned how the city might compare to Arisen. I was hoping that you might find some similarity, some resemblance. I've taken, shall we say, some liberties with the reconstruction of the city to, shall we say, it be something a bit more familiar. Do you long for those days, Sachet? When you can remember Arisen, do you think of it fondly?
Yeah, you kind of sees her like face kind of like twist up like a little bit, and it's like, I honestly don't know. My existence seems to be a collage of flashing images. Maybe if I give myself some time to think and recollect on it, I might be able to give you an answer, but for now, I don't know. Yeah.
That is,
I don't want to... Oh, sorry.
that is an admirable response. It takes courage, shall we say, to admit the gaps in one's own knowledge. But I could use your assistance, Sachet. I have a vision. I think you might be able to help me achieve. And perhaps in doing so, I might be able to help you with your visions, as you say, the collage of memories that you grapple with. I have discovered something. A technique, as it were. Something to ground you and your memories. This is a secret I'm willing to share with you, Sachet. But you seem a capable sort. And I would much prefer to have another Arisen with me than against me.
As would I.
I...
It's better to have a friend than an enemy.
And she kind of leans out on the railing, and he gestures towards the city. I dream, Sachet, of a new Irem. Civilization that can come to match it, to become its successor. And I see that potential here in this city.
There's definitely a seed of greatness here.
Yes. And perhaps with firm guidance, that seed can grow and prosper into a mighty tree. Now, this is all a bit forward. I know. I'm sure you have other needs to attend to, and the hour does draw quite late, but I should wish to continue this. There's to be a race in the Hippodrome tomorrow. I've secured a private booth. I was hoping that you might be interested in joining me, should such an arrangement interest you. Or at least, should you care to witness the games.
I'd very much be happy to join you in your booth. Looking at the time of how much little we got left, I imagine like our small chat goes
Yes.
on. But yeah, Sasette has she wants to improve her impression with this man here.
Sure.
I feel like socialize would be appropriate. It seems like we've been doing like a lot of small chat.
Yeah, this has been pretty conversational, pretty friendly.
Yeah. Any penalty on this?
Since you're just trying to kind of set an initial impression, as it were, let's just do a flat roll.
Okay. Fame. Does that count for this? He knows of me? Is he impressed of me?
He knows of you, but your, shall we say, your mortal fame isn't something that particularly interests him.
Like, oh, you're saying I gotta be a bit more interesting. Alright, here we go. 3 successes.
Alright, so you manage to, shall we say, set a positive first impression, as you leave for the night. Small talk exchanged, giving you time to think on his offers. You explore your own memories. You come away from the interaction feeling as if you've made a good impression with this white jackal.
A little bit more than that. I have my affinity, Lion's Pride, and when I improve a character's impression of me during social maneuvering, I learn one of their aspirations.
So
tells me a bit more than he wanted to.
Yeah. So he's already kind of given away, I should say, a bit of his aspiration. You know, he's mentioned this dream or vision of his of transforming the city into a successor of Arem, an Arem 2.0, if you will, something to rebirth, I suppose. But more than that, getting perhaps a bit beneath the surface, you get the impression that he's very invested on having you on his side. This isn't just a casual like work arrangement. You get the impression that he really wants, really desires for you to be allied with him. He wants to earn your loyalty. He wants to possess your allegiance.
That's interesting. Don't know what to think of that yet.
Yes, he's got a rather particular fascination with bringing you around to his side, as it were. But anyway, unfortunately, we are coming up at time here, and I know we got a bit interrupted with technical difficulties that have took up a bit more time than I would have liked.
Sorry, Prez.
Yes, much apologies to Prez, who's had very little in this session, but we shall kick things off strong with a good focus on you the next time, as we usher the arrival of a doctor, and get Vitalius back on his feet, as it were. But anyway, technical difficulties aside, just touching base with everyone. How are you guys doing? And
I'm doing good.
Yeah.
Having a grand old time.
How is what's going on in Seshet's minds? Where?
Yeah, she doesn't know whether this alliance, like this guy, is good news or bad news. Like, she's getting like the feeling off him that he wants to be like pretty kind of possessive of like her. That's like her initial like impression of him, and she's feeling like she might be able to use this for her own gain here.
Solid.
Like, if he wants to win her loyalty, like, he has to, go jump through some hoops, Maybe she can turn this around.
Yeah. What about Zavlus and Nesret? How are you doing? And what's Nesret thinking?
Contemplating if I need to burn down this church again. But in a more serious matter, I think he's really happy with the progress he's made with Minervina.
Solid.
And learning a little bit more about these religions, and a little bit more about her.
All right. And finally, again, my apologies to Prez, who's had relatively little to do this session. But how are you doing? And you got to witness some of this, shall we say, Nesret's sermon and this interaction going on. How are you doing? And how's your character feeling with the revelation that you've had thus far?
Wouldn't say he was too much interested. Personal standpoints. I mean, it's good to know. He might be reconsidering how he reacts or portrays himself to his cult members. He's kind of wonders if maybe interfere with them directly may not always be the best manner. He's thinking about how he might handle that with Vitalis when he's finally, recovered. Right now, he's also just focused on getting Vitalis actually, recovered enough to actually talk. So that's what he's thinking of right now.
All right. Well, with that, we'll wrap up this session here. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us. Sorry about the technical difficulties. I should have that sorted out for next time. Lastly, thanks again to Onyx Bath for hosting us. Thanks again for Tabletop Audio as using their music for the background there. And some things going on. There's still the OGL sale over at Indie Press Revolution. Check that out if you haven't. It's probably a little late now for the Onyx Path game night, seeing as it's today. But hopefully you can catch the next one if you get a chance to join one of the mini games there. And I do believe the Kickstarter for Realms of Pugmire 2E has now ended. And a big thanks for anyone who did go and check that out and support that. I think they hit a good number of their stretch goals. So great work there. But anyway, thanks everyone for joining us, and hope to see you guys again next time. Take care, everyone.